The last couple of lives I've just been staring into the camera because I was waiting for people to pop in and maybe have a conversation with. But there's nobody. There was no not real many viewers were popping in then. So, but anyway, this video, regardless if there's people popping in or not on the live, is about the backstory of my career in entertainment and DJ business. For people who don't know who I am, and there's probably a lot of people out there for watching this video, you probably have no clue who I am. And on my channel, I have my name is DJ Crazy Jimmy, but I'm not actually DJing nowadays. But there's a story on to like why I am in the part of my life right now where I'm just working in like a routine, boring business because I'm just enjoying, the peace of just, working and going home. But there was a time when I was like, 10 years old that I decided to pick up the trumpet in school. And I wanted to play drums. But, I was kind of like told that I had to, pick trumpet. So I picked up trumpet and I became really good at it in my school in the East Coast. I used to live in the East Coast. And at that school, I became first trumpet, first chair, and there wasn't many trumpet players in the school I went to. And I became really good at being a lead musician in the band. And I did marching band, concert band. I even signed up for chorus at one point. Music was like everything for me because my personal life at the time, I was kind of lonely where I lived. I didn't have a neighborhood of people to go out into. I kind of lived in a remote area, so school and music was like something I was passionate about. And so, I did trumpet for several years, and then I picked up guitar when I was about 13 years old. And when I picked up guitar, I becoming a teenager, I wanted to play all the popular songs, but I was still playing trumpet in school. And I wanted to learn more than one instrument. I wanted to grow and learn as much as possible in school because I had the time. And so anyway, I stayed with trumpet and I learned guitar. I got a guitar for Christmas as a kid, and I stuck with that. And then when I was about to be, if you're just joining in, you probably want to watch this video from the beginning to get the whole story. But when I was about to be, in my mid-teens and stuff like that, I decided that I wanted to, maybe make money in music. And so like I was playing trumpet in band and I was playing guitar as a like a hobby. And then when I was around 16 years old and I got my driver's license, I had some speakers and stuff that I got as a gift with guitar and whatnot. And I decided to learn how to DJ. And so I went out, my first functions as a DJ was like church functions. I wouldn't charge anything. I just wanted the experience. I was like, 16 going on 17, 18 years old, is when I learned how to DJ. But I knew I didn't know anything really about it. So I learned from another DJ who hired me on to work with him basically. He DJ'd our school dances and stuff like that. And so I said, hey, if you could help me DJ and learn how to do that, I'll help you carry the equipment in and stuff like this. And so he was like, okay, you come with me and I'll help you learn the ropes and how to play the music and not let the music stop, stuff like this. So, I was familiar with a lot of the music that was being played, but I didn't know how to keep the music going and stuff like this and choose the music and keep the people dancing and stuff. And I was like, a teenager. But I learned how to do that. I learned how to set up and tear down. And I learned how to keep the music going, working with another DJ, playing 20 minutes here, 5 minutes here, 10 minutes here, learning the mistakes I needed to learn early on. And by the time I was like 17 and 18, while I was still in school, I was playing out. And I was charging money, $65. It was like 26 years ago. It was like $65 for 3-4 hours of work just to get the experience. And like I had a little car and I could put the speakers in there, the lights in there. I bought lights. I babysat for a summer when I was in school, and I got the lights and everything put together. So I'd have some sort of like show to put on. So I'd have music and lights and stuff like that so people can dance. And I worked my way up. I started with a church, and then I went into like, you know, just private functions, parties and stuff like that. And then I worked my way into weddings, and like I did weddings and stuff like that for like 16 years, from the time I was like 17 until almost my 30s. But and I would continue to do that today, but I was living on the East Coast, and I was living in a small town. My parents separated, and I ended up moving down south to Florida at the time. But my equipment and stuff like that, I ended up losing all my gear, and because of that, I didn't have insurance on it or whatnot, so I couldn't easily replace it. So it's like I had to go back to work to replace my gear and stuff like this and get started again. So it's just like, it wasn't easy to get going again. But if you're just joining in, you want to watch this from the beginning if you want to get the whole story. Neither here or there. What I'm saying is that, you know, my career in music started because I started playing trumpet and wanted to learn guitar. And I was a teenager and wanted to learn how to be a DJ because I saw other DJs out there, DJing, and I wanted to learn how to do that. And so I did mobile work, and I had a DJ that helped me get the speakers and the lights and stuff, and like basically rent it from him. So I was able to like pay him, $75, and then charge $200 for a 4-hour gig or whatever. And then he would give me the music and stuff like that, and that's how I got started. So like, that's pretty much the story on like my a brief story on my music career and entertainment and stuff like that. But after I lost all my gear as a DJ, and I didn't have insurance on the equipment and my truck and stuff like that, I was in Orlando at the time, and so I really I was in an area where I could work all kinds of production, and like there was schools for entertainment and stuff like this. So I went to school for broadcasting, and I had some technology education in school when I was younger, and then I went to school for broadcasting, and I worked at a radio station for a couple years, not long. But I ran the production equipment. I made radio commercials, stuff like that. Nowadays, a lot of radio companies, they have like the social media stuff, but they don't just do audio only. They kind of like have a whole like cameras in the studio and stuff like that. But when I was it was like 2010 is when I lost my DJ equipment and everything. I had to start over, didn't have insurance on it. And so that's when I went to school for broadcasting, just to get the certificate so I could get hired at a radio station. It's easier to get hired at a radio station if you have a professional certificate. I don't know, it's weird like that. It's like a club of people who like are in a niche of like, know each other. And the radio world is really a small world. And so like I worked with some celebrities and stuff like that. And then I got into working security, and I worked security at events, concerts and corporate events and different different venues and stuff. There's more stuff I've done in that than than I can name, really. I can think of in one given moment. And then so I was working radio. I was working security at events and concerts and high profile events and stuff like that, suit, coat, and tie. And then I with the radio thing, the radio station got bought out by a different company. And so I ended up going to the convention center and working at the convention center, setting up and tearing down shows for different productions with that. And the convention center I worked at was like 1,000,000 square feet per building, and there was 4 buildings, so it was huge. And there's always shows going on. So, with that being said, like that was the East Coast. And then, I don't have really family on the West Coast, but I kind of got drug out here. And and then I ended up in the Midwestern part of the U.S. for a little while, and then I ended up on the West Coast. It's just like I'm so far away and removed from the entertainment world that I can't go work shows and I can't go work production, and the radio connections I have are not in this town. And so like it was like a decision just to like work in a boring business, something that I could always do, something that will always be work, and like not be creative. So like work in a business that's not creative mindset or like production or anything like that. So far removed from being DJing or production nowadays. It's just like, I'm just doing a boring business that anybody could do. It makes good money, and reinvesting that money into another business, selling online, reselling. And I have systems and processes in place that, at this point in time that I learned through experience in my business that I could grow the company and make it what it is today, which is still in infancy stages, but it's enough that I can take care of what I need to take care of, and I don't have to work as hard as some other people in the business and in driving business because I have another business that makes me money too, so I can afford to travel some, and I'm lucky in that regard. But I really would like to get back into entertainment. I've been thinking about, because I was part of an entertainment union on the East Coast, and I still need to pay my dues if I want to go back to work. So it's just like, can I join the other union here in the West Coast and do that? And, I could get back into production because I have the experience. Or is it like, do I just keep doing, driving work and reselling? So that's kind of like a brief history of like how I got started with music, with trumpet in school, and then picked up the guitar and then got into DJ work, and I did that for about 15 years. Started over again when I lost my business, my equipment. Basically, my equipment was stolen, and I didn't have insurance on it. So I went back to school for broadcasting, got into the radio, did that for a little bit of time, worked security for a number of years of production, high profile events, and then did convention center work. And now that's kind of like I'm on the West Coast, got drug out here, and like it's there's trees out here, there's cows out here, there's fields out here. It's kind of like I'm in the area now where I grew up in the East Coast, where in the northern part of the East Coast that was like remote, and like the area I'm in now is remote, and like it's not conducive to production. Like you really have to travel to work production out in this area that I'm at. And it's just like the consistent flow of work is just not here. So working in a boring business, working in a boring job, is kind of like what everybody else does here. I mean, there's opportunity here, but like I didn't grow up in this area to learn, the ins and outs of like logging and stuff like that, which is like what a lot of people in this area do and stuff. And I worked in entertainment production and all that stuff for a number of years. That's where my heart is at. So that's what I'm good at doing. And like, so now I just have this YouTube channel. I just kind of waste other people's time here. Waste other people's time just going live, just staring to see if I get anybody to join in on the live or not. And then, I'm a numbers guy. So like, I like to look at my numbers on create videos and just kind of like see if I get responses on YouTube, but really, having a focus, being more creative, maybe getting into like, because I still play drums. I still have a studio for drums. I just don't actually create on the drums as much as possible because it is an hour. What's wrong? Oh. It is an hour away, and an hour away drive to get to the studio. So I just don't go there as much as possible. Like I did when I was like at the height of my creativity when I lived on the East Coast. So do you want some water? Yeah. Here. So that's kind of like a brief history of my career in entertainment that, until about maybe 8 years ago I was working in. So, I mean, I don't know. In entertainment, they say you have a 7-year itch, it's just like you You get out of doing, you get out of being relevant, you get out of the work, right? And then 7 years, and then you get back into it, and then it's just that's what happens. That's what they say. I don't know how much truth there is to that, but a boring business, driving work and reselling is, it's just not where my heart's at. I feel dead inside sometimes with this, but you know, I can still go to concerts. There's still concerts going on and stuff like that. But should I buy gear? Should I buy DJ equipment or production equipment and rent it out? Start like a rental company, and but then if I want to move, that you have to think about moving all that equipment, and it's heavy. If I move back to the East Coast, and then I have to hire a moving company to move it or whatever, and there's enough stuff we've accumulated over time that it would have to be like a yard sale and or whatnot if I move again. But I would like to be close back to the entertainment areas of the country to work that production work, because that's something I really enjoy doing. In production, you can work, 60 hours, 80 hours in 2 weeks, right? Sometimes 120 hours in 2 weeks. It's just like you work a regular job amount of hours, and then you could work an insane amount of hours to get the show produced. And then you have 2-3 weeks of nothing to do. So it's just like gig work works for me. But sometimes people, turn gig work into full-time work. But I think that having a reselling business is better than just doing gig work only. But, or having a YouTube channel. For some of the people who do gig work, they have big YouTube channels to talk about it. But see, I don't want to talk about driving work or gig work or anything like that, because that's not something I want to do as my focus. Like entertainment and stuff like that, my career in entertainment, if you watch this video from the beginning, it's that's the story. And it's just, that's what it is today, so it's not the best situation nowadays, but I'll create random videos and then put something profound to get people to be react to it or whatever. But I'm just playing around on social media. Really, I don't got time for nonsense, but sometimes that's what it is. I just create nonsense on this channel, really, because I don't have a focus. I'm not actually in working production. I'm not actually DJing in my DJ company anymore, and I'm not really on radio anymore. So I'm just and I'm doing my own thing and taking care of family and stuff like that. But when the time comes, I'll probably get back into production, and I'll probably do something with that. But I do have the ability to work on coding and computer work and starting a server, and then creating an online platform for radio, like an internet radio station. I've done it before. I can do it again, and at least I have that. I could do that. It's just that I haven't, because there's been some reasons why. I mean, it takes time and energy to put that together. And so, that's why I've taken a step back from that as well. But, being creative, having a creative mindset, or working in production is definitely, it's, some people can stick with it for 30, 40 years, and some people come in and out of the industry, and it's just kind of what it is. So, anyway, have a good day or night wherever you're at.